listeners, thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 1, Episode 17, Hell House.
So I'm really excited today, you guys, because I get to teach you about the link between tulpas, a 19th century female explorer who was the first woman to walk through the Himalayas. She did everything. She's an opera singer. Supernatural, and also the My Little Pony fans. Okay. And I am thriving. This is me in my element. Not only is this episode hilarious, like the brothers spend so much time pranking each other, and I'm so down for that. But also, there is the tangled web that is the internet. Okay, you guys, I have such cool facts for you. I am thriving. Laura, how about you?
I need to know what the link to My Little Pony is.
Honestly, when I was reading about it, I was just like, what? It's so good.
That's good. I'm looking forward to that. I was glad for another Monster of the Week type episode. We know that they're my favourite. And it has been pretty dark and depressing recently. It's been funny still, but there has been a lot of darker episodes recently.
Yeah.
Like the main storyline ones. So it's been good for a bit of respite from that. Mm-hmm. From the caption on Amazon Prime, I didn't think it was going to be like a really funny episode. It sounded really depressing because it just says about Sam and Dean investigate a house haunted by the ghost of a man who killed his 6 daughters during the 1930s. And I was like, oh, that sounds cheery. But it's not, that's not really what it's about. So, yeah.
True story. So I also found, interestingly, in this episode, we actually have a guest writer on. So the Easter eggs are going to be a little bit different from my normal. This episode was set in Jensen's hometown, which has at least 10 haunted house attractions running all year round, as far as I can tell. Because I was obviously keyword searching like I usually do to be like, okay, how does this episode line up with the real things that have happened in this real place? And then I found out it was a guest writer, which started to make sense to me because I was Googling. And while there's things that have happened around this town, there's not really anything like, we don't have the axe murders that I've come to expect. Or the gateways to hell from like, you know what I'm saying? Like usually there's like a gateway to hell in a cemetery where there's an axe murder, or there's a creepy unsolved crime. But in this case, that doesn't really seem to be what this place is like. So I'm thinking that he came in and did something a little bit different. And it just sort of feels like he was like, let's play a little, not practical joke necessarily, but just like a little bit of an in-joke and set it in Jensen's hometown and have it be a haunted house, because Richardson is like, everything is haunted. Everything's a haunted house. And so I have
found...
fits
for the episode.
Yeah, it does fit really well.
I have found an in-joke.
I found there's a whole bunch around the area, and I've added show note links to haunted road trips that I found. I had to pick a different scary story for this episode because this episode actually really focuses on the concept of tulpas as modern folklore and magic more than it does real spooks. But before we dive into that in the episode, I wanted to tell you guys in this little preamble about the haunted location that I have chosen for this. So this is our spooky Easter egg briefly. If you want the full story, which is really well told, that's going to be linked in my show notes. But basically, there's a castle in Texas, okay? A full, whole, medieval-looking castle just in Texas. And it's overlooking a bay. So it's called the Hassel... Excuse me. I almost said Hasselhoff. It's really hot today, you guys. The Castle of Heron Bay, which is also known as Inverness, which is interesting because that's a place in Scotland that I've like lived near before. Yeah. So basically, there is a really beautiful castle off of Lake Worth, and it was originally built in the 1860s for a young man as a gift to his young bride. However, we think it's all true love. Everything seems great. This is so romantic. There's a red flag here, okay? Because she's then found floating dead face down in Lake Worth. It was never determined if the death was a murder or an accident, but suspiciously, a month later, the young man was married to the dead bride's sister. Our girl... Suspicious, highly suspicious, was not a fan of this. Like, why would you be? And there's this very corpse bride So she has been seen to haunt the castle. And then also, following her death, there's just this series of disasters and tragedies that have kind of added to the lore year after year. And I just felt like this was the perfect little snippet of a true crime
Yeah.
spooky Easter egg, a little haunted house action for us for this episode.
Well, I don't blame her for haunting that house, because even if he didn't have anything to do with her death, he still married her sister, which is that's
1
worth
month later,
haunting.
what can I just say?
Well,
Like
yeah.
her body was barely cold.
And also, if you marry someone 1 month later, there must have been something going on in the meantime. They must have been
Mm-hmm.
having an affair.
There's no way. There's no, I don't care if it's the 1800s. There is no way. Actually, even more so because all the rules about courting and everything being very like church supervised and
Hmm.
chaperones, like you cannot tell me that there's not something deeply suspicious going on there. That's just there red flags everywhere. Okay, red flags everywhere. No wonder she's haunting it. Like honestly, haunt away,
Yeah.
queen. Okay, haunt away.
Yeah, don't blame her.
No, me neither.
So that's something else we can add to our road trip then.
We can definitely add it. And then there's like the links to the haunted road trip through the area as well. So
Mhm.
I feel like that has to be like the top tier one, and then we can kind of go to all the little haunted places around it. And then the other side
Yeah.
of this that I thought was amazing, like peak supernatural, is that this episode has arguably created potentially its own tulpa in Richardson, Texas, because Laura, do you want to tell them what the network did in terms of making the actual website?
Oh, I've got that. Hang on. That's further down in my notes. Um, so the website hellhoundslair.com was actually a real website that was created by the show producers. And it currently, according to IMDb, it currently leads to the CW website, which I did check out before recording, and it still does. Although it wasn't actually loading the page, but it did say cw.com at the top.
I think we can't access it because we're in the UK, so American listeners are going to have to update us
Ah,
by writing into the show. But it was definitely up for long enough to become part of local folklore because following this episode, they've really done something interesting with this because I have found multiple like haunted websites that have quoted Hellhound's lair as if it's a real website and people believe in it. So if you actually believe in the idea of tulpas and a haunted cabin appears with a Mordecai, you can blame the show for that because they actually like created this entire like three-dimensional sort of situation. Um, and I actually found a quote that says, "In Richardson, Texas, there's a legend that a spirit haunts a haunted house." Well, you guys did not think about that before you wrote that down. A spirit haunts a haunted house. Like, guys. Okay, sorry. That's the first time I'm reading it out loud. Apparently, it attacks girls, strings them up in the rafters, and then the bodies mysteriously disappear. Some kids I know saw a body hanging in the cellar of that haunted house. Now, this is written by Richard from Texas. So a Texan has been like, yeah, some kids that I know. So it's already folklore. And then the
that's
guy
cool.
who's looking into this dropped a link to www.hellhoundslair.com. And I just think that that is so entertaining because they've actually made folklore. And I've actually seen this a couple of different times where things from supernatural episodes leak into local folklore where they've said it, since they said it in real places. And because, as we've discussed before, so often things are actually linked to real cases, it makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense that they are kind of slowly permeating all these different local stories and myths and like the kind of things that you would tell your friends on Halloween over a couple of beers. And I just think that it's legendary.
I The fans of this episode did have some flags though about Richardson, because on IMDb there was loads of comments, people saying the real Richardson is really urban and it isn't rural like it's shown in the episode as well.
Mhm.
So obviously I don't really know how that really links, but yeah, so it's Jensen's hometown, but it's not really apparently. But then they don't film in the locations anyway, so
Well, okay. I will give them this. Like, there have been other locations that they've done that have been city-based locations that they left as city-based locations. So, like, they filmed that one episode in Chicago, and it looked like it was
Yeah.
set in Chicago. And
Well,
with
because of all the
this one,
newspapers flying around, so it was windy.
the Windy City, I still can't get over that. That was hilarious. Um, so basically, I think that's where they're coming from. I think that's why they're annoyed because the show made it look like this super spooky, like back area of Texas. I think people that I saw, because I came across it when I was doing my research for ranting, saying it looked like North Texas or something. I'm going to have to ask Carly. But basically, they're like, we're not from the boonies. Don't make us look like we're from the boonies. We're not from the boonies. And that was the whole rant. And as somebody who is raised in the boonies, I kind of get it. But also, like, you're not better than us, guys. You're not better than us because you live in a city. Like, cool your
No.
jets. And it looks cool and it looks spooky and it works really well. And it works
Yeah.
better than it would if it was set in the city, honestly. So, like, let's just let them have this one.
Although I suppose if you are going to set it in a real place, it probably should look like the real place, or they could have just set it in a different place in Texas. But it's because they
Yeah,
wanted to make the link to Jensen, I guess.
they did. Yeah.
Should I do the synopsis?
Yes.
So this is season 1, episode 17, Hell House. The original air date for this episode was March 30th, 2006. Sam and Dean investigate a house that is seemingly being haunted by a misogynistic ghost who targets female victims and hangs them from the rafters in the basement. They find out the local law around this haunting is that a man killed his 6 daughters by hanging them during the Depression era, but this law keeps changing, and when it does, the hauntings also change to match. They realise the monster is a tulpa and is only real because enough people believe in the legend and keep spreading it around. The main source of this is Hellhound's Lair, a website about the legend run by 2 paranormal investigators called Ed and Harry. Sam and Dean try to create their own law so that they can kill the monster, but it doesn't quite go to plan and they end up having to burn the house down instead. And we are left not knowing if this actually worked or if it is just a temporary fix to the problem.
Yep. So I was very amused by the fact that Sam and Dean kind of seem to sort of trade places occasionally with their extreme approaches. So I feel like in Route 666, there's that moment where Sam's like, I never really thought about that. And Dean's just like raging, I never really thought about like he's so annoying. He mocks him in the car because
Yeah.
Sam saves Dean by putting him in this exact coordinates. But if he had been wrong about what was going to happen with his working theory, then Dean would just be pancaked and dead. And so Dean gets understandably irritated. And then in this episode, Dean's like, fire is the answer. So, and then Sam's like, bro, what if it's not though? Like, this is a thought form situation. What if this doesn't work? And he's like, I don't know, we'll come back and kill other stuff. So it's just like they're taking turns being the wild card.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny that throughout this whole episode, Sam and Dean were just basically in a prank war as well.
That gave me life. It's so funny. I really love the part where they have the fishing guy who's like, and then
I didn't like him. I've got notes about him later.
I wrote down why I thought you would hate him. He's in my notes too. I was like, Laura will hate this because. But there's that scene where he's in the woods where the boys have set him up to distract the cops, and the cops are wandering around looking, and they just hear. That was so funny. I laughed so hard. So I remember watching this episode the first time around and really hating it because I was expecting it to be another more serious episode, and I wasn't expecting the kind of comedy that we get in this one. It was kind of like a weird mashup for me. And I hated Ed and Harry. Like, now that I've lived longer, I appreciate the satire that they are a lot more. Like, I'm getting a lot more of the in jokes. I understand what they're taking the piss out of it and why it's so funny. So I do find it hilarious now, and I really enjoyed rewatching it and changing my mind about it. But yeah, this episode is a 10 out of 10. It is comedy gold. It is so funny.
But it was still scary as well because, like we've said before, there were some really, really dark and spooky parts, but then also really funny. And they're the best ones.
They are the best ones. We love a horror comedy mashup.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the opening scene, a group of teenagers are daring each other to go into an abandoned house. And when they first went into the house, I thought that there was a face behind them. You know, when your kind of mind plays tricks on you because it was so dark. I kept thinking I was seeing a face, but I
I keep
wasn't.
thinking that I'm seeing things because behind Laura, there's an open door and it's like this dark
Oh,
hallway. And
don't
I always think that
I
I'm
get
seeing
distracted by
something.
it as well.
Yeah. And it's not. It's just like normal stuff. But out of the corner of my eye, my brain's like, make a picture. And I go, what is that?
Yeah, I do the same. I catch it sometimes myself, and it freaks me out.
Yep. Yep. So, I my notes for the beginning of this is very flashlight in the woods, Blair Witch meets cabin in the woods for me. Like the tone of it all, it's all dark, spooky woods. Um, it's in the middle of nowhere. We're really only seen by the light of their flashlights, and it is
Mhm.
genuinely scary looking. And like the girl is like, I truly don't want to go in here, and no one's
No.
listening to her, and they're like egging her on. And I wrote down, no one ever listens to the girl at the start who says this does not seem like a great idea. Moral: listen to women, we have experience surviving dark creepy night walks. Pink horror, okay? Pink horror is our lives, so like you should just listen to us, and then these things could be avoided. And then there's that line where that one guy says, do you want me to hold your hand? And I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then they're holding hands and it's so nice, and then he immediately ruins it. And
Yeah,
he
he
said,
does.
"Are there any other parts of you that I can hold?" And she's like, "Ugh." Which
Yeah,
same. Immediately
yeah.
no. And I was just like, you have the opposite of game, my guy. Because you were holding hands with her going into a spooky house. Okay? That is top tier. That's good stuff. Why did you have to open your mouth the second time? Because then you just
God just couldn't
disgusted
help
her.
himself, could he?
He
Yeah.
couldn't help himself. It was so dumb. I was just like, this man has no game. And it's sad for all of us. So they go into this really very abandoned, like rotting cabin. And there are spooky as fuck symbols on the walls. And we just go, oh, oh no. It's like, we all know how this is going to end. Okay. So they go down into the root cellar, and the guys are talking about the fact, like they're talking about the legend. They say that it lives in the root cellar and it goes after girls, always girls. It just strings them up. Um, and the other guy says, they say, who's they? Where did you hear that crap? And he says, I told you, my cousin. And then the other guy says, and where'd she hear it? And he says, I don't know. She just heard it. So the other guy's laughing and he's like, whatever. And he grabs the flashlight. They go down into the basement. And he's being really quite sarcastic and just kind of making fun of it. And at the point at which they said it only goes after girls, I was like, so you brought your female friend as what, bait? Like, what is
Yeah.
actually wrong with you? Um and then I was like, how do you not see? Okay, because they're walking forward and there's like jars of stuff in it. And I was immediately like, so you said that he killed them because they were starving to death, but there's still food left in the pantry? That was my red
Hmm.
flag. Um, so then we have a flash to Interstate 35, and Blue Oyster Cult is playing. And the Impala is cruising past a sign talking about being in Big Texas. So we know we're in Texas. We know we're in around Richardson. And Dean is singing along. And Sam, who was asleep, jerks upright and realizes that there's something in his mouth because while Dean has been driving, he's noticed that Sam was asleep and decided to fuck with him. So he puts this plastic
Yeah.
spoon in Sam's open mouth because he's like sleeping with his mouth open, slides it in there, waits for a couple of minutes, then cranks the radio up so that Sam jump scares himself awake and he goes, whoa, what's in my face? Totally freaks
I
out
thought that
about
was
it.
mean.
It was so funny. And Sam goes, haha, very funny. And Dean goes, sorry, not a lot of scenery here in East Texas. Kind of got to make your own. And that made me laugh because I have a friend who lives in Texas and there's just like nothing there. So I thought that that was accurate. And Sam says, man, we're not kids anymore, Dean. We're not going to start that crap up again. And Dean goes, start what up? Like he's acting innocent. It's hilarious. And Sam goes, that prank stuff, it's stupid and it always escalates. And Dean goes, "Oh, what's the matter, Sammy? Scared you're gonna get a little nair in your shampoo again, huh?" And then I laughed because we all know that Sam's hair is his pride and
Yeah.
joy. The way that he
His mane.
flips it, the mane, okay? It's a whole thing. And Sam goes, "At this point, we know he's hit a nerve too," because Sam goes, "All right, just remember, you started it." And that is sibling for I am gonna fuck you up. Okay. For those of you who are only children, that's what that actually means. And Dean goes, "Haha, bring it on, Baldy." And I laughed so hard because I was like, this man he's gonna go for it. This is gonna be great.
Yeah. So my notes about this section were that Sam was asleep in the car, and I wrote, "Oh, sleepy Sammy," because he looked really cute. And then I wrote, "Dean is being a dick, and also watch the road." Right. One of my pet peeves of television programs is when people are driving and they're not watching the road.
Mhm,
It really, really bugs me. And he's not watching the road at all because he's literally just putting things in Sam's mouth. So
mhm,
that annoys me. Um, and yeah, and then Sam doesn't like silly pranks, and nor do I. I like some pranks, but I don't really like silly ones. And I have a fun fact because apparently Padalecki was the one known for pranking others on set. Because on IMDb it says throughout the episode, Sam and Dean pull pranks on each other. Jared Padalecki, who plays Sam, is known to pull pranks on the set. And this whole scene was then setting up for a full prank war during the episode, which was really entertaining to watch. So yeah, apparently Padalecki is the one that pulls pranks on people.
I mean, they definitely both do, but I know that I've watched a couple of cons where they're talking about his stuff and it is hilarious, but he just also sounds like he's total carnage. Like Jensen was talking about how he's sort of the bane of props existence because he would go into set sometimes and just see if he could smash stuff. Apparently, not in a mean way, but just like I think it starts out that he's kind of clumsy and very large. And then I
Yeah.
think there were certain things that he kind of felt were a challenge or something. And one of the things that he did was he smashed up an entire chandelier at one point. So like some of it's been accidents and some of it's been like kind of like pranky on purpose banter stuff. And it all sounds hilarious. And I also watched them talk about because they tell this story a lot how they got super super drunk and then Jared ate this whole stack of raw ribs that were marinating that Tom Welling, aka Superman, had gifted them. Um, and then he was really sick.
I'm not
But
surprised.
no, I know, but it's just like there's stories of like the wild pranks on set and also the just recklessness and like chandelier smashing of it all are highly entertaining. And I'm grateful that they did all
See,
this wildness because it entertains us still.
my opinion is when it's innocent little jokes or pranks, then that's fine. But if I was in the prop department and they smashed up things on purpose, I'd be really annoyed because
I know.
you have to make it again.
Yep. Yep. If I was doing it, I feel like I would make triplicates of everything and then just wind him up more because he'd be like, I smashed it. And I'd be like, you thought, bitch.
But that's like 3 times the amount of work.
I know. I know. But I am a spiteful person. If somebody pranks me, I will prank them back harder. So like it would have escalated. It's probably a really good thing that I have never worked on Supernatural.
So Sam is explaining the law to Dean of what he
Mm-hmm.
knows of the law, and he
Yep.
says that the law is of a misogynistic spirit who hangs girls from the rafters. And he says the cops who've investigated after the kids went in didn't find a body, so they either think the kids were lying or just joking around. But he thinks that they seemed sincere. And Dean asks where he's found that information out, and he says he'd looked at a local paranormal website, and that's the website that we've been talking about already. This Hellhounds Lair is where he's getting his information.
And Dean says, let me guess, they're streaming live out of mom's basement. And I was like, and Sam goes, yeah, probably. And Dean says, yeah, most of those websites wouldn't know a ghost if it bit him in the persqueeter, which is a
See, I
weird
did not
line
know
from
what that
him.
meant. I hadn't got a clue what that actually meant. I had to look it up, and apparently it's like female genitalia or something. Is that
I
what it
had
is?
never heard that. I always assumed it was just like ass. but
Oh,
it's
maybe they
so.
mean it that way. When I looked it up, it said female genitalia, which
Well, now we know. We've learned a
I'd
strange
never
word
heard
fact.
of it before.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's a bizarre one. Um, so they have a little bit of a conversation, and they decide to investigate. And so they go to this fast food place, and there are guys there talking about the Hell House. And the dude who was in the house, we see him saying, "It was the scariest thing I ever saw in my life. I swear to God." And then they're talking to the other guy, and he says, "From the moment we walked in, the walls were painted black." And the other guy says, "Red." And then the girl says, "I think it was blood." And then the first guy says all these freaky symbols. And the second guy says crosses and stars. And the first guy says pentagons. Second guy says Pentecostals.
Yeah, I wrote those down because that was funny.
It is so funny. And she says, "Whatever. I had my eyes closed the whole time." And then the first guy says, "But I can damn sure tell you this much, no matter what anybody else says." And she says, "That poor girl." And the second guy says, "With the black." And the first guy says, "Blonde." And she says, "Red hair just hanging there." The first guy says, "Kicking." And the second guy says, "Without even moving." And she says, "She was real." And the first guy says, 100%. And then the second guy says, "And kind of hot." Well, in a dead sort of way. And I was like, you are the reason why so many places let female bodies decay a certain amount before sending them off, because of people like you, because you're gross. You're
Mm.
gross.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
so
disgusting. I liked how it was kind of filmed in a documentary style. It was as if they were kind of interviewing them all at different times
yeah,
and then slicing it together. And also it's shows how, like, when I listen to a lot of true crime, as we've discussed before,
yeah,
and how witness accounts are not very reliable because of this kind of thing. Because they, even the colour of her hair, they all
yeah.
got wrong.
Yeah, there's so many things that are totally conflicting, and it's absolutely right. Like when people are in stressful situations, they memorize details and they're often really incorrect. So this was hilarious. I thought it was really well done. I thought it added a lot to the humor. So
Mm-hmm.
then we go to the music shop, and Sam and Dean go there to find Craig. And he asks if he can help them with anything. And Sam says, "Yeah, are you Craig Thurston?" And he says, "I am." And he says, "Well, we're reporters with the Dallas Morning News. I'm Dean. This is Sam." And I laughed about that because I was thinking they've said it in Jensen's hometown, and this is probably one of the only times when they're not using aliases. So they're both in Texas, which is
Mm-hmm.
their state, right? And I thought that was kind of funny. Um, so Craig says, "No way. Well, I'm a writer too. I write for my school's lit magazine." And Dean says, "Well, good for you, Morrissey." And Sam goes, "We're doing an article on local hauntings, and rumor has it you might know of one." And he says, "You mean Hell House?" And Dean goes, "That's the one." I didn't think there was anything to the story. And Sam says, "Well, why don't you tell us the story?" So Craig now is going to unveil the show lore for us. And he says, "Well, supposedly back in the 30s, this farmer, Mordecai Murdoch, used to live in this house with his 6 daughters. It was during the Depression. His crops were failing. He didn't have enough money to feed his own children. So I guess that's when he went off the deep end." And Sam says, "How?" So Craig says, "Well, he figured it was best if his girls died quick rather than starve to death, so he attacked them. They screamed, begged for him to stop, but he just strung them up one after the other. And when he was all finished, he just turned around and hung himself. Now, they say that his spirit is trapped in the house forever, stringing up any other girl that goes inside." And Dean says, "Where'd you hear all this?" And Craig says, "My cousin Dana told me." "I don't know where she heard it from. You got to realize I didn't believe this for a second." And Sam says, "But now you do?" And Craig says, "I don't know what the hell to think, man. I'll tell you exactly what I told the police, okay? That girl was real, and she was dead. This was not a prank. I swear to God, I don't want to go anywhere near that house ever again, okay?" And Dean says, "Thanks." And then we cut to the exterior of Hell House, and we see Sam and Dean going up the path to the house, kind of having a little bit of a conversation.
Can I just point out here that Sam had some very fancy jeans? So they look like they had like rhinestones on the pockets stuff. Watch it. You have to watch it again. Or
I
anyone
will have
listening,
to.
watch it. It was so funny because it was
Yeah,
like the pockets on the back of his jeans were very like detailed and
they were
standing out. And it looked like they
bedazzled.
had rhinestones. Yeah.
Amazing.
They were probably just like the studs that you get on jeans, but there was a lot of them and enough for me to notice and point it out.
Nice. Nice. So they realize as they're walking up, Dean points out that there are overhead power lines, and he basically says, well, I don't think the EMF is going to be totally reliable here because this is going to interfere with whatever readings we're going to get, which comes back to be funny later on when like the guys turn up and they're like, oh, the EMF is going crazy. And Dean's like rolling his eyes in the background. So they go inside the house, and there are so many symbols everywhere, all up in this joint. And Sam says, and after his time too, that reverse cross has been used by Satanists for centuries, but the sigil of sulfur didn't show up in San Francisco until the 60s. And that's a creepy, spooky Easter egg about Anton LaVey, who basically started Satanism in California in the 60s. Now, I've put a link in my show notes to his wiki page, but what you really want to look at for the juicy stuff is there was a documentary where his daughter was interviewed. To be honest, there's so many documentaries about him, and there have been so many paranormal investigations and stuff. He's like such a dark and creepy character. So if you want your true crime dose, I would recommend like looking that up and looking into that. It's super spooky and weird.
Yeah, he is spooky and weird.
Yeah. And then Dean, because he gives this fact, right? It's sort of nerdy. Dean says that is exactly why you never get laid.
I beg to differ.
You know, yeah, Sam has game
That's
too.
what makes him hot.
What? I feel like we've just done another puts the horror in horror.
Wait, what did we say?
You said that's why I said he never gets laid, and you said that's why he's hot.
Dean's saying that he never gets laid because he's like a geek, but I think that's what makes him hot. So yeah, I think that was what would get him laid.
That makes sense. It was just there's a gap in the sentences, and I was like, what are you saying? You're not making sense to me. So that was funny. Okay, so basically they investigate the house, and Dean says, I don't know, Sam, I hate to agree with authority figures of any kind, but the cops might be right about this one. Yeah. And I was like, if Dean is saying the cops are correct, woo! Yeah. That was so funny. So then there's a noise, and they get blasted in the face with flashlights, and it's the guys. Yeah. And he says, oh, cut, it's just a couple of humans. And so there's an EMF reader, there's a camera, they're clearly filming, they're clearly doing paranormal investigations. And the first guy says, what are you guys doing here? And Dean says, what the hell are you doing here? And the first guy laughs it off, and he says, we belong here, we're professionals. And he says it so fucking sassy. And you are just dying laughing because it's the opposite of true, right? And he says paranormal investigators. And then he hands them business cards. Here you go, take a look at that, boys. And Dean says, you've got to be kidding me. And Sam says, Ed Zedmore and Harry Spengler, hellhoundslayer.com, you guys run that website. So Sam realizes that these guys are the reason why they're there. And Laura, you have an inside fact about this little Easter egg.
Oh yeah, so this is a Ghostbusters reference, which I noted that Joy would enjoy. So Zedmore and Spengler were two of the main characters on Ghostbusters.
Yes. And I love it. I think it's an awesome reference. I'm living my best millennial life, honestly. I grew up on the Ghostbusters. I fucking love the Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I did think that these two were really funny, but in like a stupid dork kind of way.
That's 100% the vibe. And then it gets better because we have the Ghostbusters reference, and then Dean's next line is, oh yeah, we're huge fans. And I was just like dying laughing because like Dean does love the Ghostbusters. I don't think we know that yet in this part of the series, but we will find out as we go on that he's kind of obsessed with the Ghostbusters, which is flawless. Okay. So that line is so funny. It's such a little in joke. And Ed goes, and we know who you guys are too. And Dean and Sam both look at him like, what the fuck? And Sam goes, oh yeah. And Ed goes, amateurs. And Dean just kind of turns. I feel like he doesn't want them to know that he's going to punch them in the face soon, And he says, Ed goes, looking for ghosts and cheap thrills. Oh my God. So Harry says, yep. So if you guys don't mind, we're trying to conduct a serious scientific investigation here. And Dean goes, yeah, what have you got so far? I goes, Harry, why don't you tell him about EMF? And Harry goes, well. And Sam's playing dumb while trying not to laugh in their faces. And he goes, EMF? And Harry goes, electromagnetic field. Spectral entities can cause energy fluctuations that can be read with an EMF detector, like this bad boy right here. And he turns it on, and Dean's smirking at Sam in the background. And Harry goes, whoa, whoa, it's 2.8 milligrams. And I goes, 2.8, it's hot in here. And Dean whistles, like, wow. And Sam says, wow. And Dean says, huh, so you guys ever really seen a ghost before? Or, and Ed goes, once we were investigating this old house and we saw a vase fall right off the table. And Harry goes, by itself. And it's like, at this point, just wheeze laughing. Okay. And Ed says, well, we didn't actually see it. We heard it. And something like that, it changes you. And she goes, yeah, I think I get the picture. We should go and let them get back to work. And Ed goes, yeah, you should. And he goes, Sam. So they leave, and Ed and Harry continue their investigation. I feel like you can hear the sarcasm.
I did think it was funny that all the banter when they were just Sam and Dean were just humoring them.
It was great. I was living my best life. It was fantastic. So then the guys go to the public library to do their due diligence, right? And Dean says, hey, what you got? And Sam says, well, I couldn't find a Mordecai, but I did find a Martin Murdoch who lived in that house in the 30s. He did have children, but only 2 of them, both boys, and there's no evidence he ever killed anyone. And Dean goes, huh. And Sam says, what about you? And Dean says, well, those kids didn't really give us a clear description of that dead girl, but I did hit up the police station. No matching missing persons is like she never existed. Dude, come on. We did our digging, man. This one's a bust, all right? For all we know, those hellhound boys made the whole thing up. And Sam goes, yeah, all right. So Dean's like, I say we find ourselves a bar and some beers and leave the legends to the locals. So they get into the car, and Sam is smiling while Dean turns the key in the ignition, and dance music blares really loud. And when Dean's trying to turn it off, the wipers turn on. And Dean was like beside himself, falling backwards, going, whoa, what the fuck? And he is trying to reach to turn everything off, and Sam gets in laughing, and he licks his finger and marks an imaginary 1 in the air and then points to himself so that, like, he's got the first point in the prank war. And Dean gives him this filthy look, and he's like, that's all you've got? That's weak. So we go back to Hell House, and it's nighttime, and there are 2 girls and a guy going up to the house. And the guy says, this is it, the point of no return. And she says, why do I have to go in there? And the other girl says, because, Jill, you chose dare. You either have to grab a jar from Mordecai's cellar and bring it back, or the guy says, or you can make out with me. And I went,
yeah.
So she gives him a dirty look, and she says, I'll take the homicidal ghost, thanks. And I was like, same girl, same. You go right on ahead. Fight. It was fantastic.
It's her man versus bear moment.
It is her man versus bear, and she chose bear in the form of ghost guy.
Yeah, so she's ghost guy too.
Yeah, same. So she goes in, and it's very, very, very creepy. There's a shit ton of chicken feet in there. And this is how much of a redneck I am. Is people will eat chicken feet in the South. Like, they'll like have them cooked in a certain way, and they'll eat them. And I was like, is this snacks? Is this supposed to be part of the cellar? Is this snack, or is this supposed to be like creepy stuff is it supposed to be scary, witchy stuff? Like, what vibe am I supposed to be picking up? It's confusing me. So Jill makes her way to the cellar. She looks around. She moves to the jars, and she takes one, but then she hears a sound because there is a very, very creepy sort of situation happening around her. The vibe is not right. She drops the she drops the jar, and then she's talking to herself. She's like, okay. Just as she's calmed herself down, she turns and she sees Mordecai, and he throws a rope around her neck she's screaming and continues to scream as he drags her up, hoists her in the air, and hangs her until it's very
Mhm.
obvious to us, the audience, that she's dead. And I just wanted to say that this was the scariest scene in this episode. It was
Yeah.
awful. Like, the
Yeah.
horror was like a 10 out of 10 in this. It's
Definitely.
awful. It's so scary. I did not care for
Even
it.
even just when she was going down into the basement, like that whole part was really creepy when she's unlocking the door. My eyes kept playing tricks on me again, thinking there was things in the background. I think I was just really expecting jump scares the whole time. And yeah, it was really, really horrible when she is killed.
Yeah. Honestly, it was not my favorite. It was not, I don't know. It was just like, there's some scenes in Supernatural where it's so gritty and so real. And I'm just like, you were too realistic. You went too far. That was too dark.
Yeah.
And the truth is that this is one of their bigger strengths, and it's why they have such a huge following, because, like, we've been saying this anyway, but I saw it quoted really well in a critical review of the show, where they said that what they managed to do was take the concept of on the road adventure and monster of the week and turn it into a 40 minutes miniature horror film every single week. And
Yeah.
that is definitely what is going on here. And it's a really truly cinematic scene. It would not be out of place in something like the Blair Witch, like, at all. So
Definitely.
props to them. It was terrifying.
So the next morning, you get the body is being taken out of the house, and Sam and Dean are asking what's happening, and they are told that she hung herself. And then it cuts to the night, and I made a note because do you remember in I think it was Scarecrow when I pointed out that you had the same shot and when Dean was leaving the town, and then it was the exact same shot when he comes back in, and it was like that. So it was the house during the day with all the police and everyone milling around, and then it cuts to the exact same shot, but it's now in the dark. And I really like it when they do that.
Yeah. It's very satisfying.
Yeah. And Sam and Dean are hiding because they're trying to obviously get into the house, but without the police seeing them. And they see the paranormal investigators as well. And so they use them as a distraction to the police. And Dean shouts out, "Who are you going to call?"
That
So
was my
the
favorite
police.
bit. So we go back to the Ghostbusters reference, and I was like, oh, this is amazing.
And then the police run after them. So then Sam and Dean go into the house.
Yeah. And they're laughing. Like, they're just like, ha, this is the best thing we've ever done. It's like they've gotten sucked into the prank war. And I thought it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was great. So they go inside, and Dean and Sam are investigating. And Dean says, where have I seen that symbol before? It's killing me. And Sam says, come on, we don't have much time. So then they go down into the basement and they keep looking around. And Dean says, hey, Sam, I dare you to take a swig of this. And he holds up one of the, like, old as
Uh,
fuck jars of we don't know what. And Sam just goes,
ew.
what the hell would I do that for? And Dean goes, I double dare you. In the meantime, I'm laughing so hard. And Sam just shakes his head and he looks away, and Dean's just like smiling, like, almost got you. I almost got you. Like, he thought he was going to do it. It was great. So then there's a noise, and they both go to this cabinet, and they're so serious about this, like, because we think a demonic ghost is going to be in here or something. And they open it, and rats run out into the flashlight light. And Dean goes, oh, and completely flips out. And he's like, I hate rats. I hate rats. And it's this full Indiana Jones moment where Indiana does not like snakes. Dean,
With
same
snakes.
vibe, just does not care for rats.
No.
It was so good. And then Sam goes, you'd rather it was a ghost? And Dean goes, yes.
And then we do get a jump scare. So this whole time, my brain has been like, something's going to happen. Something's going to
Yeah.
jump out at you. And nothing did. And then this time it did happen.
Yeah.
Because he's behind them. And then they shoot at him. And I'm like, I wrote down, they're shooting at ghosts again, Joy.
Yeah. Yeah. But this time, in their defense, they have it loaded with rock salt. And it's working, but it's not working the way that it's supposed to be working. So Sam says, what the hell kind of spirit is immune to rock salt? And Dean's like, I don't know. Come on, come on, come on. And as they're running towards the stairs, Mordecai smashes his axe down, catching the shelves and bringing the jars crashing down on Dean. Mordecai and Sam begin fighting. And I thought that this was a thirst trap, honestly, because Sam has the axe swinging at his head and then he blocks it with the shotgun and he shouts to Dean, "Go, get out of here." So, like, we're seeing
Mhm.
Sam rescuing Dean, and it's badass and so hot. And that's a thirst trap. Like, that's a thirst trap. That was amazing.
Joy's loving Sam again.
I am. I am. I think that the more that we watch this, the more that I agree with Laura, and I'm just like, why should I choose?
Yeah, I definitely lean Sam.
That's fair. Sam is super hot, especially right now. So, in the next scene, we're outside again. So they're outside, and Ed and Harry are creeping back towards the house. And Harry is raising his night vision goggles and says, maybe we should just get out of here. And Ed goes, no. Would John Edward go? And I was thinking, no, because he just lives his life in a studio where, like, people's information is fed to him. Like, come on, man. So he goes, we've lost the cops. Let's find our center and get some work done. Okay. All right. And I died laughing because they're ridiculous. And then, so
Yeah, they're
right
such
as
losers.
they really are, as they're getting up to the porch with the camera raised, Sam and Dean bust out of the house running for their lives. They
That was
fall through
funny.
the emergency tape and roll down the steps and then spring to their feet and keep running. And Dean says, "Get that damn thing out of my face," meaning the camera. And I thought that was fucking hilarious. But Sam, who's a humanitarian, is like, "Go, go, go." As in, let's get the fuck out of here. And Ed and Harry are just like, huh? And then they see Mordecai lurking in the door, and Ed goes, "Sweet Lord." And then Harry goes, "Of the rings, run, go, go, go." So the full line is, "Sweet Lord of the Rings." And I was just
That
like,
was hilarious.
this is the
I
best.
loved that.
This is the best. But they then run directly into the cops. And
Yeah.
Harry goes, there's a man over there. I saw, where'd he go?" And the cops grab them by the collars and go, "Boys, come on." And we just know that they've gotten in the shit. Like, they've fallen for it again. And I loved it. I loved it. It's so funny. It's great banter. This is the best.
Yeah, it was funny. So then Sam and Dean are at a motel, and it's Western themed by the looks of it.
It's fucking nightmare fuel themed. I wrote down, "Sweet baby Jesus." These motel doors with the cow heads that look like they did the whole silver spoon and then saw some shit that they can never unsee. Okay? They did not look right. They were not right in the head. Mm-mm.
Is this because they're in Texas? Are things actually like this in Texas, or is it a case of we need to have newspapers blowing around to make it look like Chicago because it's the Windy City?
I feel like it's like an exaggerated comedy, like, tip up
We have to
from
make it about cowboys because we're in
it went
Texas.
it went wild. Like, there's murals. There's fucking murals on the walls of the hotel painted with, like, cattle scenes. It's doing too much. If there had been a couple of paintings, a few, like, longhorn skulls, fine, normal behavior. This place was wild. It was too much. There's an armadillo. They do have the longhorn skulls. Maybe you would get away with an armadillo, maybe, but it's just all of it at once is wild. And I was just like, this is way too much. So then Sam and Dean are talking about this symbol, and Sam's researching, and Dean's saying, "What the hell is this symbol? It's bugging the hell out of me. This whole damn job's bugging me. I thought the legend said Mordecai only goes after chicks." And Sam says it does. So Dean says, "All right. Well, I mean, that explains why he went after you, but why me?"
Burn.
Burn. And Sam says, "Hilarious. The legend also says he hung himself, but did you see those slit wrists?" And Dean says, "Yeah." And Sam goes, "What's up with that?" And the axe, too. I mean, ghosts are usually pretty strict, right? Like, following the same patterns over and over. And Dean says, "But this mook keeps changing."
Mhm.
So Sam's clicking away on the laptop, and he says, "Exactly. I'm telling you, the way this story goes, wait a minute." And Dean goes, "What?" And Sam says, "Someone added a new post to the Hellhound site. Listen to this. They say Mordecai Murdoch was really a Satanist who chopped up his victims with an axe before slitting his own wrists. Now he's imprisoned in the house for eternity." And Dean is staring at the symbol he drew, and then he goes, "Oh," and he bolts upright. And Sam goes, where
I
the hell
wrote
is
he
this
had a
going?
light bulb moment.
He literally did. Like, I swear you could see it above his head. It was so funny. And Dean says, I don't know what's going on, but I think I might have just figured out where it all started. And then we cut to the music store where Craig is, and he's sitting around, like, looking depressed. And Dean says, hey, Craig, remember us? And Craig says, guys, look, I'm really not in the mood to answer any of your questions, okay? And he says, we're just here to buy an album, that's all. And Dean flicks through and picks up an album. And then he's talking to Sam as they go up to the counter on purpose so that they're overheard. And he says, I couldn't figure out what that symbol was. And then I realized it doesn't mean anything. It's the logo for Blue Oyster Cult. And Dean to Craig goes, tell me, you into BOC or just scaring the hell out of people? Now, why don't you tell us about that house without lying through your ass this time? And I thought that was funny because usually you would say lying through your teeth, but he says lying through your ass.
Why did they choose to put a logo for a band as one of the things? Because surely they wouldn't have been the first people to realize that.
I don't know. I feel like in a way it fits because he is such a rock junkie, and I don't think it's been going on for that long. So I feel like Dean being the first person to tweak it kind of makes sense to me.
I suppose it's kind of because it's like a hook. It's like a cross with a hook at the bottom, isn't it? So it's.
I just wrote down, it's Hookman.
It just looks.
It's Hookman.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. The first time I watched it, I was like, "Is this a link back to Hookman?"
Yeah, honestly, I really thought that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he says that he and his cousin Dana were on a break, like as in she was on a break from university, and they got really bored, and they decided to look for something to do. And then they saw this abandoned dump. And they thought it would be really funny if they made it look like it was haunted. So they painted the symbols on the walls, some from the albums, some from her theology textbooks. And then they found out that this guy called Murdoch used to live there. So they made up the story to go along with that. Then they told people, and then those people told other people, and it just kind of spread like wildfire. And then he says, and then these two guys put it on their stupid website. Everything just took on a life of its own. I mean, I thought it was funny at first, but now that girl's dead. And so he's haunted, but it is hilarious that the reason why this whole thing happens is because Ed and Harry put it up on their website. And I just thought that was a nice little piece of satire.
I had a side note here, which was about, because during this, it's kind of like showing you Craig and Dana setting the house up.
Yeah.
And Dana is painting one of the symbols, which was clearly spray painted using a stencil, but she's not using a stencil.
Yeah.
And then they keep painting over like a pentagram on the floor, and she's not actually painting anything.
Oh dear. So we cut back to the motel room, and we can hear the shower running, and Dean walks over to Sam's bed, lifting up a packet labeled itching powder. And he says, hey, I'm back. And Sam's in the bathroom. He says, hey, where were you? And Dean says, oh, I went out. And then he picks up Sam's underwear from the bed and shakes the content of the packet into it. And I just went, oh no, oh no. So no. Sam says, I think I might have a theory about what's going on. And Dean says, oh yeah, while shaking more and more itching powder. Like he is doing the whole packet, you guys. And Sam says, what if Mordecai is a tulpa? And Dean says, a tulpa? And he comes out from the bathroom wearing just a towel. And I was like, oh my God. Because he is ripped. I wrote down, it takes up like so much of the page, like 2 hands worth of the page is just a giant damn. I was like, Sam is ripped in this towel. And then I laughed because Jared flexes his pecs totally unnecessarily as he's walking over to the bed. He's just like, yeah, I know. And it's just like one and then the other. Like, literally.
I didn't notice that.
The stripperest move I have ever seen in my life. And so I went from, oh my God, this is the best thirst trap of all time. This is the biggest thirst trap in the world. No thirst trap could ever possibly beat this thirst trap. And then immediately I was laughing so hard because he was like, flex, flex. And I died laughing.
I had a fun fact here.
Yeah.
So apparently this was to please the fans of the show, because IMDb, it says, to meet the demands of numerous fans to see the lead actors with less clothes on, a shirtless scene for Jared Padalecki was deliberately written into this episode.
Amazing. So this was a purposeful thirst trap. So I wonder if he did
Yeah,
the like little dancer
that was
flex.
for the fans.
That was for the fans. A little left, a little right, just for us. Just for us. Amazing. So, this is a great place, I feel like, to put my Easter egg in because we're talking about the tulpa, and he says that it's a
Mhm.
Tibetan thought form. And so I'm going to explain to you guys where we get the My Little Pony and the female adventurer and
Yeah,
supernatural all intersection because this is the wildest thing. I said intersection instead of intersecting because it's very warm. Okay, it's very warm.
it is
There's
really
no
warm.
air conditioning in the UK because y'all live like savages. So we just have to sweat it out, and it's hot as balls. Okay, so where did tulpa lore start? The idea of the tulpa began to slowly enter pop culture through the form of horror and monster stories, most notably being a 1989 issue of DC Comics Detective, which Batman tracks down a young man of Tibetan heritage who's using magic to create creatures that steal from the rich. And I was just like, so what you're telling me is this is a Tibetan Robin Hood, and I am here for that. That's genius. Like, honestly, all of us living in 2024 are like, you go. That's amazing. Keep up the good work. Okay. So then in the early 2000s, tulpa were the topic of various forms during this time period, ranging from horror novels to creepypasta. The concept of the tulpa most heavily entered recent pop culture through the show Supernatural. In Supernatural Season 1, Episode 17, Hell House, the two protagonists face off against a spirit that they believe to be a tulpa in an abandoned house. In the show, they reference a, quote, Tibetan spirit sigil, which they say is a Tibetan symbol for creation. As in, like, they're saying some people have chimed in and said that it isn't this, it's actually this other thing. There's a lot of debate over it, and no one solved what it actually is. But regardless, it has become wildly synonymous with the term tulpa. So, in Tibetan Buddhism and later traditions of mysticism and the paranormal, a tulpa is a materialized being or thought form, typically in human form, that is created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. Modern practitioners who call themselves tulpamancers use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively independent. Modern practitioners predominantly consider tulpas to be a psychological rather than a paranormal concept. The idea became an important belief in theosophy. The concept of tulpas has its origin in the Buddhist, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Nirmanakaya, translated in Tibetan as Spurlpa, the earthly bodies that a Buddha manifests in order to teach those who have not attained nirvana. The Western understanding of tulpas was developed by 20th century European mystical explorers who interpreted this idea independently of Buddhahood. So they sort of took this idea and developed it outwards. So we don't really know. I don't think that we in the West can really say that what happens now is really linked to the original concept because the original concept appears to be very deeply spiritual and linked to a lot of very old teachings. But what
Mhm.
we see in modern stuff is more like folklore based on folklore, kind of based on secondhand accounts. So Supernatural, My Little Pony, and a 19th century female explorer, feminist, opera star, and anarchist. How did this all come together? We got to start with Alexandra David Neal, who is the explorer that they're talking about when they talk about explorers going to Tibet and bringing back Tibetan beliefs. So, the first introduction
Mhm.
of tulpa into Western culture was through the journals of Alexander David Neal. Tulpa were discussed mainly in occult and paranormal related circles during this time, although there were some references to tulpa in philosophical discussions of reality. She was the first woman explorer of Tibet and its mysteries. That's a quote. She successfully and simultaneously was an anarchist, and I put a little insert here, meaning she wanted to smash the patriarchy and destroy inequality. She wanted the freedom to pursue male coded adventures and wanted everyone, everywhere, to get the same opportunities and freedoms that she had.
Mhm.
So when we say anarchist in this exact context, I just wanted you guys to know what that actually meant. So she was a singer, a feminist, an explorer, a writer, a lecturer, a photographer, a Buddhist, an architect, a male artist, a Sanskrit grammarian, and a centurion. In the autumn of
That's a lot.
1895, she did a lot. She was a dynamo. She spent 2 years touring French Indochina, now Vietnam, appearing in Hanoi, Haiphong, and elsewhere, while performing leading roles in operas such as La Traviata and Carmen. In 1924, she went on a solo expedition on foot alone across the Himalayas. She stated that she had observed Buddhist tulpa creation practices in 20th century Tibet. She described tulpas as, quote, magic formations generated by a powerful concentration of thought, end quote. David Neal believed that a tulpa could develop a mind of its own. She said once the tulpa is endowed with enough vitality to be capable of playing the part of a real being, it tends to free itself from its maker's control. According to David Neal, this happens nearly mechanically, just as a child, when her body is completed and able to live apart, leaves its mother's womb. She said she had created such a tulpa in the image of Jolly Friar Tuck, which she claimed later had developed independent thought and had to be destroyed. David Neal raised the possibility that her experience was illusory, saying, I may have created my own hallucination, though she said that others could see the thought forms that she created. Which, can we just appreciate that for the wildness of this?
Yeah.
I just want to know if there was absinthe at those parties.
So what was the, I might have missed this, but what's the purpose, like, originally of creating the tulpa? Was it like, as like a, because it said something about imaginary friends, was it to like help them in some way?
So my understanding of the way that Westerners adopted it was as a kind of occult experiment. I think number one, to see, could this be a thing that could be done? And number two, as a kind of philosophical and psychological exploration of the self. So making yourself an invisible friend. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Something that would give you spiritual support, friendship, would make you feel less lonely and help you explore
Why
different
did the original,
aspects.
like, the Tibetan monks do it? Why did they do it originally?
So in their teachings, it's interesting. And I don't want to say that I know for sure because I've only researched a little bit and I'm not an expert. But what I gather from what I've read is that originally the first teaching was that it was a specific kind of spirit that came to help people who had not yet reached enlightenment, basically. That it was an independent
Oh, okay.
entity, right? And then other practitioners, or later on down the line, during meditative practice, I believe the idea was that you could perhaps engage with a tulpa to help you to reach enlightenment. So it seems like it's this deep, entrenched sacred practice that is very much a purely Buddhist thought. So that's a
Yeah.
totally different thing from what Westerners start doing with it. We see this a lot with
Yeah.
kind of, where is the line between cultural appropriation or cultural appreciation? What happens when two cultures meet and people interact with it from like their culture and what they think they understand of it? It's really, really, really interesting. And I think it's fascinating as we go forward, like to see how people try to use them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now that we have that part down, let's snap back into the 2000s. Starting around late 2011 to early 2012, threads began to be posted on 4chan discussing the creation of the tulpa. The discussion moved around to different discussion boards before becoming very popularized by the My Little Pony community. So here we go. So
What?
I went and found someone from the My Little Pony community because I wanted to hear in their own words what on earth, because on the internet you get so many different rumors. And I thought I'm going to go to the horse's mouth. See what I did there? So this guy is called Digital Breeze. And he wrote, I'm also a fan of the show, and I've seen a fair amount of fans who wish that ponies existed in real life. Yes, threads about tulpas started out on 4chan's paranormal board and eventually migrated over to the pony board once the paranormal board pushed them out. It went to the pony board because bringing a pony to reality is what many people there want to do. This is what I heard anyways. I found out about tulpa because of 4chan's pony board, actually. These fans just want their pony to be real, and this gives them a way to do it. Also, the entire fandom is used to being considered weird because men liking a little girl show is widely considered weird. So it's not too hard for them to do something else that many would consider weird, based on what I've seen and heard. Nowadays, tulpa threads on 4chan are crapped up and not worth browsing. but I still see them occasionally while reading through threads. Also, as above, ponies are everywhere on the internet. And I thought that was pretty funny. Around this time, the tulpa.info was formed, moving some of the 4chan discussions onto their own forum. Instead, while attempting a more scientific approach, tulpa.info was created to provide information about tulpas, to guide tulpa creation, and to host a community for the discussion and research of the phenomenon. Starting around late 2011 to early 2012, it just kept cycling up. So basically, the way that it goes is you get the Batman comic book issue that kind of brings it into the wider culture. So David Neal brings it back. Then that gets into popular culture. Then we see Batman. Then we see the My Little Pony threads and people wanting really badly for them to have their own real life My Little Pony friend, which is how Tupples get into My Little Pony. But then it crosses over into Supernatural because the episode comes out and it springboards into everyone's consciousness. And I have partaken in so many conversations on the paranormal occult folklore side of things, which specifically stem from this episode or are there. I've seen people directly quote Topolore, but it's from Supernatural. It's not really from anywhere else. It's just from Supernatural. So I thought it was fascinating that they are such a part of this phenomenon. And you have this weird triangle between My Little Pony fans, Supernatural fans, and this 19th century female explorer, absolute badass, who trekked through the Himalayas by herself, spoke so many different languages, translated Tibetan scrolls, and brought the idea of Buddhism to the West. Like without her and her conversations and her admiration of Buddhism, we wouldn't really have Buddhism here. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, that's so weird how the My Little Pony stuff came into it. And also how this show is creating their own lore. But we knew that's what they're trying to do anyway. There is that kind of thread through all the episodes so far, hasn't there?
Yeah, it's fascinating how well they've succeeded, though. Like they're actually influencing occult thought, occult conversations, paranormal investigations in real life. Like it's really, really cool. It's like we're watching them create folklore in real time.
Yeah, that is cool.
Okay, so coming back to the episode, Dean has just put all the itching powder in Sam's underwear, right? We're like, tulpas. So he says, yeah, I know what a tulpa is. Hey, why don't you get dressed? I wonder why you want him to do that, Dean. I want to go grab something to eat. So you want to take him out in public too. So Dean goes into the bathroom and he's smiling. The like wildest, like mischievous smile. And so Sam watches him slightly suspiciously, but then turns around and picks up his underwear. And then it cuts to the diner, right? And the server gives them their dishes and says, "There you go, gents." And Dean takes the coffee and says, "Thank you." And they make their way over to the table. But this entire time, Sam is like making really weird faces and trying to scratch himself without scratching himself because you can't do that in public. And Dean's like, "Dude, what's your problem?" And Sam says, "Nothing, I'm fine." And Dean goes, "Yeah." And then Sam goes, "Yeah." Then Dean says, "All right, let's keep going. What about these tulpas?" So Sam says, "Okay, so there was this incident in Tibet in 1915 where a group of monks visualized a golem in their head." Can I just say a golem is a Jewish thing? We're just clashing theologies at this point. No one cares anymore. They're throwing things at the wall. Okay, so they said they meditated on it so hard they brought the thing to life out of thin air. And I thought that was really funny because we know from Alexandra David Neal's account that she said that other people saw her Friar Tuck guy and that other people witnessed it, and he became such a handful that she had to somehow unmake him. And I thought that was, that was hilarious. So Dean says so. And Sam says that was 20 monks. Imagine what 10,000 web surfers could do. I mean, Craig started the story about Mordecai, then it spreads, it goes online, and now there are countless people all believing in the bastard. So Dean says, "Now, wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that because people believe in Mordecai, he's real?" And Sam says, I don't know, maybe, but he's he's still trying not to scratch his crotch. Like, it's so funny. And Dean says, people believe in Santa Claus. How come I'm not getting hooked up every Christmas? And Sam says, because you're a bad person. And because of this. And we know he's such a bad person because he's put itching powder in his brother's pants and then taking him out in public. Like, I can't. So Sam turns the laptop around and he shows Dean a photo of some of the symbols. And he says that's a Tibetan spirit symbol, which we know highly debatable. So he says on the wall of the house, Craig said they were painting symbols from a theology textbook. I bet they painted this not even knowing what it was. And now that symbol has been used for centuries, concentrating meditative thoughts like a magnifying glass. So people are on the Hellhounds website staring at the symbol, thinking about Mordecai. I mean, I don't know, but it might be enough to bring a tulpa to life. And Dean says, well, that would explain why he keeps changing. So Sam is losing his mind. He's adjusting his genes, right? He says, right, as the legend changes, people think different things. So Mordecai himself changes, like a game of telephone. That would explain why the rock salt didn't work. And Dean says, yeah, because he's not a traditional spirit. And so Sam is still like fidgeting around with his genes. And he goes, yeah. And Dean says, okay, so why don't we just get this spirit sigil thingy off the wall and off the website? And Sam says, well, it's not that simple. You see, once tulpas are created, they take on a life of their own, which we learned, again, from Alexander David Neal's crazy fire chuck, which I want to know. I want to know what he did that was so, I'm dying of curiosity. If anybody knows, you need to write in and tell me, because I need to know. So Dean says, great. So if he really is a thought form, how the hell are we supposed to kill an idea? And Sam is still itching and scratching and moving around like he should be in a commercial for a cream. And he says, well, it's not going to be easy with these guys helping us. Check out their homepage. And Sam shows Dean footage from the previous night. And he says, since they posted the video, the number of hits have quadrupled in the last day alone. And he goes, I've got an idea. Come on. And Sam says, where are we going? And he looks like such a puppy dog. Like he's suffering. And Dean says, we got to find a copy store. So they get up to go. And Sam is like losing it. Like he looks ridiculous at this point. Pulling, trying not to scratch, like walking super weird. Like he has a duck in his underwear. And he says, man, I think I'm allergic to our soap or something. And Dean laughs as he walks away. And Sam goes, you did this? And Dean just does the most evil laughter. He's so happy. And Sam just goes, you're a freaking jerk. And Dean goes, oh, yeah.
I had a note at this point saying that there's kind of an interesting parallel between the fact that so Sam and Dean have been pranking each other all episode.
Yeah.
And this whole story is kind of based on a prank because Craig and his cousin were kind of trying to, well, it wasn't really a prank, but similar.
I mean, it started out as a prank. For sure, because they wanted to make people think that this house that wasn't haunted was haunted. So it for sure started out as a prank. You're absolutely right. That is a brilliant catch.
Well, thanks.
I give you a tiny invisible trophy. Treasure it.
So then we cut to, I forgot what they're called, Ed and Harry.
Ed and Harry.
Ed and Harry's trailer. I've just written investigator guys in my notes. That's why I'd forgotten what they were called. And they're talking about going back to the house. And one of them is kind of up for it and one of them doesn't really want to go. I don't know which way round.
Harry does not want to go, but Ed is like, we have to go.
He says it's their ticket to the big time.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, be brave. WWBD. What would Buffy do?
I love that so much. And I died because I used to say that all the time. Like, in total seriousness, what would Buffy do?
Well, because of this or like before?
Before this, like well before this.
Like
just
when you used to watch Buffy.
WWBD became a thing in the Buffy fandom really early on because a lot of us were Southerners, etc. And we've been raised in Christian areas and it was always, everybody was always WWJD. What would Jesus do? Blech.
Yeah.
And then so we replaced it with WWBD. What would Buffy do though? And that one's just resonated for a lot of us really well. And I just love that I am the same nerd that these boys are. That entertained me endlessly. And Harry goes, what would Buffy do? But Ed, she's stronger than me.
I loved that bit. I loved his response.
And Ed goes, it's okay. I was like, this just reminds me of fucking Ghost Adventures when Zach is always like, Aaron, go alone. Because he always sends Aaron to do all of the worst things by
Yeah, he always
himself.
forces him in to do it. Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
felt like they're 100% like making a joke out of that. So Ed is clearly Zach and Harry is clearly Aaron, who's getting like all of shit work where it's just like, no, you go into the jaws of the beast. You'll be fine. Just be like Buffy.
Yeah.
And he's like, but she's a superhero and I'm not.
That's a good comparison.
It was amazing. So, oh, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, so Sam and Dean knock on the door and then they talk outside. And I had a side note to say that I really like their flamingo decorations.
That was very Florida.
Was it?
Yeah.
I liked them. I thought they were cute.
Yeah, that's a very southern trailer park kind of thing to do.
Because they've got like a whole little garden set up outside the trailer.
Yeah.
And Dean tells them they need to shut down their website. And I've written in my notes, and hilarious banter and double bluffing ensues.
It does. It does.
Because they're talking about bitch slapping each other and pretending that there's a secret about the house that they won't tell them unless they shut the website down. But the secret, we find out, is a fake death certificate saying that Mordechai died from a gunshot wound and that if you shoot him now with the same type of gun, you can kill him. So that basically they're trying to get them to publish this story on the website to make it true so that then they can go into the house and shoot him and he will actually die this time.
Yep. That's an interesting segue, Laura. Thank you. So we cut to the interior of the cafe and Sam and Dean
I don't like it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if you guys listen to our very first episode, our Introducing Ourselves to You episode, Laura said that she does not like creepy dolls and she does not like mannequins. And I have written in my notes, she is going to hate this part because he's kind of like slappy. Like he's got the same mouth thing and the same...
ventriloquist dummies. Can't even speak.
She's too scared to talk. So she is not a fan. So I'm going to go ahead and read this part to you because I think she would just have a straight up meltdown. So we go into the cafe and Sam and Dean sit in a booth and Sam's looking at his laptop. Dean reaches up to the 3D artwork of a fisherman holding a big fish and pulls the cord. The fisherman's mouth moves up and down and an extremely annoying laugh plays and it goes something like that. It's like I did it perfectly before we started recording.
Yeah, you did.
It was perfect. I'm so annoyed.
It was like, think more like
it
evil witch Halloween toy.
That's what it sounds like. Okay, so it goes like so Sam's pulling the cord to stop it. He says, if you pull that string one more time, I'm gonna kill you. And Dean
so will I.
Yeah. Laura was on the same page. Dean deadpan stares at Sam while pulling the cord again. And Sam immediately stops it, glaring at Dean. And Dean's laughing. He says, come on, man. You need more laughter in your life. You know you're way too tense. And Sam gives Dean the filthiest look. And then Dean says, did they post it yet? So Sam checks the laptop around so that Dean can see it. And then he's stabbing at his salad super angrily because he has had enough of Dean. And Dean's reading out loud. He says, we've learned from reputable sources that Mordecai Murdoch has a fatal fear of firearms. All right, how long do we wait? Sam says, long enough for the news story to spread and the legend to change. I figure by nightfall, Iron Rounds will work on this sucker. So Sam holds his beer out to Dean, who lifts his own and taps it. And then he says, sweet. And Dean takes a really long drink and Sam starts grinning. Dean goes to put the bottle down, but it's stuck to his hand. Sam cracks up and Dean stares at it confused. And then he goes, you didn't. And then he's holding up a thing of super glue and he goes, oh, I did. So Dean's shaking his hand like some kind of a monkey trying to get it off. And then Sam leans back laughing and pulls the string and sets the laughing little toy off again. So it's like you have this evil laughter in the background. It's the best. I love that. I laughed so hard.
I was really concerned at this point because this is where I think pranks go a bit too far because that's like super gluing something to someone's hand is really horrible because how are you going to get it off?
I mean, it's difficult and you do lose some skin. Is it the end of the world? Meh. Not necessarily.
I would be so mad if someone did that to me. I would like hate them forever and never speak to them again.
I wouldn't enjoy being super glued to something, but I feel like I've had enough fake nail mishaps with super glue that I feel like I could cope. Okay, so we are at the exterior of Hell House at nighttime again.
Mhm.
And there are two cops investigating the grounds. And the first cop says, I'm telling you, I heard something coming from over here. And the noise of the mannequin, the creepy mannequin fisherman laughing can be heard. And then the cop said, see,
Yeah.
there it is again. And the second cop goes, what the? And then they see him stuck in the tree, just like laughing away by himself. And we
That was
figure
really creepy.
it was a distraction. You know, Sam and Dean clearly
Mhm.
did it. But then I laughed so hard because I felt like obviously they've now pranked the cops as well. So the prank wars have escalated to people outside of the family.
Yeah. So they go into the house, guns drawn, and they're making their way through. And then Ed and Harry startle them and almost get shot. Like they could see that Sam and Dean had guns. Yeah,
Yeah.
they saw that. Why would you make them jump?
I don't know. I don't know. That was really, really, really dumb. But I think it goes to play into the fact that like these guys are idiots.
Well,
They
yeah,
have
they
no
literally
common.
nearly got shot.
Yeah, they're total idiots. My favorite
Yeah.
thing is Dean's there and he says, I barely have any skin left on my palm. And Sam says, I'm not touching that line with a 10-foot pole. Amazing. So Ed goes, whoa, whoa. Like they didn't just startle them in the most like absolutely ridiculous way. And Sam goes, what are you
Yeah.
trying to do? Get yourself killed? And Ed says, we're just trying to get a book and movie deal, okay? It's like, oh Lord. So then we hear this sound of knives being sharpened in the basement, and we're like, okay, this is gonna get good.
Mm. And then so Mordecai comes through the door and they shoot at him and he kind of disintegrates into dust. So we've got that pixelated dust thing again. And then he
Yep.
disappears. And then there's a thing on IMDb here that was one of those goofs saying that you can see a cameraman in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And
Mm-hmm.
hang on, it says on this episode you can see part of the cameraman's left arm and shoulder along with partial view of the camera at 34 minutes 52 seconds. And then there was someone in the comments that said you can see almost half a cameraman's body. Still a good ep though, in the actual comments on IMDb. And I was like, hang on, this can't have been that noticeable because I didn't notice it the first time. So I went
I
and
didn't
watched
see
it.
it.
It's literally like half a man.
Wow.
I didn't notice it, but I think that what had happened is I must have just thought it must just be Sam in the background.
Yeah.
But it was a whole cameraman, and you can see a bit of the camera as well.
Yeah. What's even funnier is the lines are, did you get him? Yeah, they got him. No, on camera. Did you get him on camera? The cameraman was like, I'll help.
The cameraman was like, I'll be on camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone likes spotting that kind of stuff like me, then go and check it out. So it's 34 minutes 52 seconds.
Oh. I am gonna have to go back and look at that because I did not notice
Yeah.
at all. I don't know how I missed an
I thought
entire
it was
half
just
a
going to be
human.
like, I thought it would be just a tiny bit, but it's literally like a whole person.
Yep. Yep. So they are trying to shoot Mordecai and get rid of him, obviously. And Dean goes, hey, didn't you guys post that BS story that we gave you? And Ed said, of course we did. And Sam appears in the other door gun at the ready. And then Harry says, but our server crashed. And Ed goes, yeah. And Dean goes, so it didn't take? And they go, And Dean goes, so these guns don't work. And Ed goes, yeah. And Dean goes, great. Sam, any ideas? And Harry's like, we're getting out of here. And Ed goes, yeah, come on, Ed. And Harry grabs him, but he like yanks him. Like, you know how in stunts you have like a hook on someone and they just go flying? Like,
Yeah.
one of them is much smaller than the other one. And when he yanks him, it's just like, phew, it's like a full body pulled off a shot. It was so funny. So then they run past Dean in the other room, and then Mordecai appears again, and they're screaming their heads off because, you know, they were not built for this. Let's just like their lives were changed when they saw that vase moving that they didn't even see. So like this is too much for them. And Harry goes, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and then Ed goes, the power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
That was funny because it's like, was he trying to exercise him or something?
It was, yeah. So he's literally quoting The Exorcist. And I laughed so hard I almost cried.
Yeah. So then Sam appears and tries to distract him away from them, which was a hero thirst trap.
Yes, I can confirm.
But he gets pinned up against a wall. And then I've written, meanwhile, Dean is throwing lighter fluid everywhere. And then he goes to Sam and lights a can, turning it into a flamethrower. And in my initial notes from my first watch through, I'd written, at least Dean had a lighter to light the flamethrower this time.
Instead of it just appearing.
Bugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So Sam and Dean get free and they're running. And Dean says Mordecai can't leave the house. We can't kill him. We improvise. So that's when he goes to light it. And Sam says, that's your solution? Burn the whole damn place to the ground? And he says, well, nobody will go in anymore. I mean, look, if Mordecai can't haunt a house, if there's no house to haunt, it's fast and dirty, but it works. And Sam says, well, if the legend changes, then Mordecai is allowed to leave the house. And Dean says, well, then we'll just have to come back. And they watch as the house burns. And Sam says, it kind of makes you wonder, of all the things we hunted, how many existed just because people believed in them?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For this scene. Where did the cops go? Because they were distracted. They were distracted for a bit, but they wouldn't have been distracted this whole time. And there was like gunfire and everything.
Honestly, you know what I think happened? I think they went up towards the house and caught sight of that actual fucking ghost demon thing. And were like, we don't get paid enough for this. And then they left to get donuts and beer. That's what I think actually happened.
Okay, so in the closing scene, so Harry and Ed are telling Sam and Dean that they're off to Hollywood as they're going to make a movie out of the story on their website. And their car's all packed up. They have literally got junk like bungee corded all over it.
Yeah, it looks crazy. It looks like it will not possibly move.
No. Yes, they've got all their stuff packed up. And we can see the flamingos from earlier. There's a flamingo on the front.
Yeah.
And it just looks ridiculous. And they're being really obnoxious about it. Well, it's Ed, isn't it? Ed is the obnoxious one.
Ed is always the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they drive off, Sam tells Dean that he's the one that pretended to be the producer. He called them. And then Dean says that he put a dead fish in their backseat. So they're pranking them now as well. And then they call a truce on their own prank war.
Yeah. Like, I love this scene because Ed is so full of himself and he goes, no, smartass. He read all about the Hell House on our website and wants to option the motion picture rights, maybe even have us write it. And then Harry goes, and create the RPG. And Dean goes, the what? And he says, the role-playing game. And Dean goes, right. And Ed goes, a little lingo for you. Anywho, excuse us, we're off to La La Land. And he says, congratulations, you guys. That sounds really great. That's from Sam. And Dean says, yeah, that's awesome. Best of luck to you. And he says it in a way where you're just like, heh. And Ed goes, oh yeah, look, that has nothing to do with it. It's about talent, sheer, unabashed talent. And they nod at each other. And then they drive off. And Dean goes, wow. And Sam then confesses that I was the one that called them and told them I was a producer. And Dean cracks up and he says, yeah, I'm the one who put the dead fish in their back seat. And then they just laugh so hard. And like Laura said, they call a truce, and then it's the end of the episode. But that was a funny episode.
I have a note about the music at the end. So I wasn't going to mention this to start with because we know that a lot of the music seems to have been changed from the original run. But this is talking about original music. So I'm assuming that what I'm about to say is still relevant, and it was the music that we heard. Mm-hmm. So on IMDb it says, though it would become their trademark song later, Carry On Wayward Son by the rock band Kansas was not yet licensed for use on the series at the time of this episode. However, its use is foreshadowed by an original piece of music clearly meant to sound similar to it that plays in the last scene as the Impala drives away. So I listened to it again, and I think it is still that music. Mm-hmm. And it would make sense because it's original music, but it does sound a bit like it.
Yeah, so although in the transcript... Sorry.
It also sounds like it has a weird, like, triangle in it as well.
Oh, it's priceless. In the transcript, it says that it's Blue Oyster Cult's Burnin' For You.
Oh, well, how? So it wasn't original music then,
I don't know, that's what the transcript says. So,
unless,
unless I
unless
changed
the
it
original
again.
music was put in after they had because they had to change it. They couldn't use Blue Oyster Cult for Amazon.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know when this quote was written on IMDb.
I mean, it might
Hmm.
be different from streaming to airing, like you're saying. So, we'll have to check. And again, you guys feel free to write in and let us know. We love hearing show facts from you. So if you can figure out if it
Yeah,
was different from streaming to airing on TV, then tell us, because we would love to have that little piece of information. We love behind the scenes.
yeah. I'm wondering if because it says original music here, they wrote it when they had to change it to streaming. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe.
So I thought this was a really fun episode, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was a good respite from the heavy episodes early. As I said earlier, but there's something that bugged me in this episode, which I did think myself, but it was also someone else had said it on IMDb. But it's so in the last episode was the one where Meg and the shadow things that are like attacking them, yeah,
Yeah,
and they had, especially Sam, had these massive slashes right across his face, like
yeah.
huge slashes. So they looked pretty deep. Then I would have thought they would have left scars, and obviously they don't really want to have them to have scars because yeah, but he doesn't have any scratches. They don't have anything to show that had happened. Just a beautiful untouched face.
So
And then
without
there's a
giving,
quote.
sorry, you go
Oh,
ahead.
well, there was. I just wrote there was. I wasn't the only one who noticed this either, as someone made a comment on IMDb that says, so this is by Monkey Man 100. Said, where are the scars? If I had been seriously maimed in the face by a demon, or even FK, I don't know what that is though, there should be some
Freddy
scars. Poor
Krueger.
continuity. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, poor continuity. See previous episode 16 Shadows.
Okay. So I can't go into super detail because it would be spoilers, but they do actually cover this in later episodes and later seasons where they seem
Ah,
to have like extra good luck and like heroic levels of healing. Um,
okay.
and I will say, aside of that, spoiler free, I can say that we already know that Sam has powers and that he's kind of magical.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would be
Got
totally
healing powers.
outrageous to think that he could heal a little bit faster than a normal person. We also don't know that we are going from episode 16 is one day and then episode 17 is the next day. Like, we've kind of established that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there seems to be like a week or so in between. So they refer to stuff that happened in the previous episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is like the next day or whenever. So I just feel like between episodes, it's never really that clear how much time has passed. Um,
No,
and so that's my
but
defense of it, basically.
yeah, but even if it was years, like a scar never goes, does it? So if it was, they were deep enough to actually scar. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's hard to, like, I could see where you guys are coming from, but it was like the makeup for it was like red lines on the face, and I don't know if that was like superficial bleeding or if that was supposed to be super mega deep, like from the way that it was done. I don't know. Um, I don't know.
we'll
I don't
just
know.
we'll just write it up to be one of those things that it's a show, it's a TV
Yeah,
show.
yeah, it's a TV show. But yeah, so end of episode games. What was your favorite
um,
thirst trap?
oh, you're going out of order. Okay.
Oh,
Well, it's either the obvious Sam in a towel
mm,
or Dean at the end when he lights the fire. Um,
mm,
I reckon I'm just going to be basic and go with Sam in a towel.
agreed. Agreed. He did a little dance for us and everything. He did a little peck dance. I mean, we've got to give it to him. He put in
Yeah,
the effort.
I need to watch that again.
Yeah, we can all watch that
Um,
again.
Villain hot or not?
No, no, no,
No.
no. Like Craig, if we think of Craig as an accidental villain, because he's not really a villain, it's an accident. He's really not my type. He's very bland.
No, no,
And then
still no.
Mordecai
Yeah,
is disgusting and gross, and also a daughter murderer. So that's a no from me.
yeah, I agree. Episode scare rating.
It's more funny than it is scary, except for that one scene.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna basically give it a 6. I feel like
I gave it a 7.5 because
the
of some
dummy.
of the, and because I kept thinking there was going to be jump scares the whole time when there
Oh,
wasn't.
really? Yeah,
So that was good because it got me.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Favorite quote? I can't decide between two, so you go first.
You always say this every episode.
I know, because I can't make a decision. You
Oh
should know that
dear.
about me now. Shall I give you my two and then you can see if you want to nick one?
No, I know what it is. No, I know what it is. It took me a minute for my brain to kick in, but I know what it is. It's when Sam and Dean are in the restaurant and Dean says, well, why don't I get like sorted out every year from Santa Claus? And Sam goes, because you're a terrible person.
Oh, that was funny. That didn't help me though, because you didn't say one of mine. So I'm going to go with, but Ed, she's stronger than me, in reference to Buffy.
Yeah, that was really good. That was a really good one. There's so many funny lines in this episode, honestly. It's really hard to pick.
My other one was, if you pull that string one more time, I'm going to kill you.
Yep. I also really liked, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Motel decor. We've already talked about the Western theme.
0 stars. Would not recommend to a friend. Would not stay here. It's like Texas on crack. It's wrong. So many levels.
I liked it.
No.
As a British person, if I went to Texas,
Laura,
I wanted to be stereotypical cowboys.
No, but it's not even stereotypical cowboy. It's so over the top. It's like nightmare fuel. How could you sleep? Have you seen those cows' eyes? How could you?
Spooky cowboys? No, I wouldn't want the actual cow's heads. They can go, but I liked the like cowboy decoration.
Sweet baby Jesus. Do you know what this is like? This is like when Americans go to London and they ask everyone if they know the Queen.
Yeah, or they're like obsessed with taking pictures of the buses and the phone boxes.
No, I still stand by that. They're cool. Still stand by that. But it'd be like you book a room, and the room that you book is like one that is literally covered with just like the royal china, like memorabilia everywhere, and like Union Jacks everywhere, and Queen pictures. I feel like that's the equivalent. That would be the equivalent.
Got an MVP.
I feel like it's Dean burning the house down, because as far as I know, they don't have to go back, which means he solved that problem by burning it down. So I vote Dean.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think he'll come back because there'll be someone else will write another like creepypasta about him, and then he'll come back.
So then if that's true, then it would have to be Sam when Sam saves Dean.
Yeah, no, I think we can still have Dean because he did save them for now.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
I did find, you know how I try so hard to like avoid spoilers.
Yes.
Which is really hard with a show that's been out for 20 odd years.
Yeah, it's challenging. Mm-hmm.
But from looking at, it was an IMDb heavy episode this time for me. And I did see that Ed and Harry are in it again at some point. They're like reoccurring. I think it said they're reoccurring characters.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be quite fun to see them again.
It's
because they were just silly.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't write anything down about what the next one is. So that will have to be a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any predictions at all?
No, because this wasn't really a main storyline episode. So I think, how many have we got left? Is there 22 episodes or 21 episodes? Should I look it up?
Yeah, you're going to have to look it up.
It's one of those. So let's see.
Please hold.
So we've got 22. So there's 5 episodes left. The last 2 definitely look like main storyline, which would make sense. I'm not sure if the next one is or not. So I haven't got any predictions really, because It's just one of those one-off episodes, isn't it?
Yeah. So my prediction, because I can't remember what comes next, is that we're gonna have either a ridiculous episode or a really scary, sad episode. So I feel like we went super dark to this one, which is funny and lighthearted, and that makes me think that we're either going to have a monster of the week or we're going to have a bit of main storyline, and it's going to be dark and terrible.
Yeah. Sometimes there has been like 2 monster of week ones in a row as like a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah. To treat us before they drop us.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that the finale will be quite heavy because they always are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we want a bit more. We want some fun before that.
Yeah.
So we've only got 5 episodes left.
We do. It's very exciting. We're also really close to the theme music.
Yeah. What episode was that coming back in?
I think it's like the second to last one.
And then is it in all of them?
Yeah.
Or is it just in some? It's in all of them. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So we'll end it there then.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.